Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Cole. It's Sunday afternoon, September 22nd, and this will be the Week 6 announcement for Political Science 1013, Fall 24, the first 8-week term. Okay, everybody, we put an announcement out. We're going to go ahead and do the exam Thursday instead of Tuesday. The announcement I sent out earlier had it for this Tuesday, the 24th. It really was a bit early. I had it on the syllabus all along for the 26th, Thursday. So that's when we'll do it. I don't know why I put that announcement out to put it on the 24th, but we'll go ahead and take the exam Thursday, the 26th. And then I believe the final exam will be coming up around October 10th, but double check me on that. So Thursday, the 26th. Available for 24 hours, very much like in the past. 50 items, true, false, and multiple choice. And it'll be available to you all day Thursday, the 26th. The material will be the class notes for units 5 and 6. So you all have another day or two then to look at that material in the class notes for unit 6, which is a very short set of class notes, but important nevertheless. It deals with the federal bureaucracy, which we sometimes refer to as the fourth branch of government, although by and large most of it is part of the executive branch, those millions of employees who work for the federal government. Now, we try to do a couple of things in that short set of class notes for Unit 6. We talk about the different units of the federal bureaucracy. There are the 15 cabinet level departments, and then many other entities that are not part of any cabinet level department. These include independent agencies, government corporations like the post office, and regulatory commissions, which are sort of different because they are generally governed by a board or a commission rather than a single agency head. After that, what we try to do is discuss problems and issues that come up in relations between elected officials, especially the president, and the bureaucracy. And presidents have frequently run afoul of the bureaucracy, Republican presidents especially, because generally the bureaucracy tends to expand more under Democratic rather than Republican presidents. So you might think that Democratic presidents would be friendlier to the bureaucracy and Republican presidents not so friendly. Now, Trump in particular, and this is worth noting, we mentioned at one point Trump's talk about draining the swamp. Now, read carefully what I say about relations between the president and the bureaucracy. One problem for the president is that the bureaucracy is so big, sometimes bureaucrats are able to duck or avoid or defy what the president might want. This has been an ongoing problem for presidents, Republicans especially, but it could be a problem for Republican or Democratic presidents. It's been widely reported, and we're giving you a reading about this for the exam, that Trump wants to reclassify thousands of federal employees so that it will be easier for him to fire them. And presumably he would replace them with people whose views are closer to his own. And that would enable him to bring the bureaucracy under more direct control. There's been a tremendous amount of talk about that in the press. And we've assigned you one reading about it for the exam. Now, of course, the bureaucratic units that Trump is most upset about include the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, intelligence gathering agencies in general, because he thinks they have tried to politically undermine him even before he was elected. Maybe not especially representative of the whole bureaucracy, but nevertheless, Trump and his friends have expressed determination to rein the bureaucracy in and bring it under control. And this might include reclassifying and then firing perhaps tens of thousands of federal bureaucrats of the couple of million altogether that we have employed by the federal government. So you have an article going back a few months from the Wall Street Journal about that. Okay. Remember, you have instructions on how to sign in to the McKee Library and the institutional subscription that OPSU has to the Wall Street Journal. So you should be able to look at that article and one other that we have assigned to you from the Wall Street Journal for the exam. Once again, you can expect 12 to 15 exam items based on those outside readings to be accessed online, and the rest based on my class notes for units 5 and 6 in this case. All right, so we have an article about Trump and the bureaucracy. There's another article about Trump and the Federal Reserve in particular. Now, students might have heard the Federal Reserve moved to cut interest rates a few days ago by 0.5 percentage point. It was a big item in the news, and the stock market rallied on that news. So, the Federal Reserve is another government entity that Trump has expressed interest in reining in, or at least exerting more direct control over. Although for decades, by tradition, we've tried to enforce the idea that the Fed should be politically independent. Now, I've given you an article from the Motley Fool website, which is a personal finance website that will tell you a little more about what the Federal Reserve does. That's not assigned for the exam, but if you want to know more about the Federal Reserve, it might be worth looking at. It's the entity that's charged with regulating the money supply in order to maintain low unemployment and low inflation. Okay, the law charges the Federal Reserve with those two responsibilities, limiting unemployment and inflation. Okay. Now, to cut interest rates could be considered inflationary, but what that shows is the Federal Reserve is now more concerned with the employment or unemployment than with inflation. Okay, so that's something you might have heard about in the news this week. It's also something you'll be reading about for the exam. So you have an article, and both these are from the Wall Street Journal. One about Trump and the bureaucracy in general, and another about Trump and the Federal Reserve in particular. Okay. Then in addition to that, you have a couple other things to look at. We gave you an article about Kamala Harris. Who is Kamala Harris? By David Dayen. Now, we had read a piece by David Dayen for the last exam about television news and streaming. Now, we've got another one by the same author about who is Kamala Harris. Now, one thing you students might have heard, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were running against each other in 2019 and 2020 before he picked her to be his running mate. And one thing people who would have followed the campaign closely would have noticed is that she tried to go farther to the left than he did, and tried to be more of a progressive than he did. I think you find David Dayen says he doesn't think she's that much of a left-winger, but it will at least tell you some things about her that you might not know. All right, so look at that. And then the last thing is about counting the votes on election night. Now, in 2020, the media organizations did not adjudge Biden to be the winner until a few days after Election Day. It was stretched out till the end of that week, best I remember, after the election on a Tuesday. And the article you'll be reading says it's liable to be the same way this time around, which may have the effect of aggravating people's suspicions, because as we know, there's been talk about whether or not this election or past elections have been or will be stolen. Okay? All right. So, again, to summarize once again, you should have looked at Unit 5, those class notes. Look also at Unit 6 on the bureaucracy. You have those two sets of class notes to look at for the exam. And on top of that, you have two articles from the Wall Street Journal. One about Trump and the federal bureaucracy in general. Another about Trump and the Federal Reserve. An article about Kamala Harris, and an article about counting the votes on election night. Okay, and that'll be the material for the exam on Thursday the 26th, 24 hours. Combination of two false and multiple choice items. Again, on the class notes for Units 5 and 6, and those 4 articles to read that we talked about. All right. Now, everybody, don't forget also, it so happens the 26th is also the deadline to get in touch with me about your term paper topic. I've heard from a few students about this. Once again, a term paper is not mandatory, but it may help you raise a lower grade from earlier in the term if you would like to do that. So what you might want to do is take the exam Thursday, and then if you've not done so, communicate with me about your choice of topic for a term paper if you would like to do one. Important deadline that is coming up. Okay, everybody, so the exam will be Thursday. After that, we'll be moving on to look at the Supreme Court and Congress for the final exam. Those class notes are up on the course website. And I'll be getting announcements out about the final exam and one more discussion once we take exam 3 on Thursday, the 26th. So good luck on the exam, study hard, take it easy, and we'll talk to you once again about a week from now at this time.